lockdown. Times Network's Chandra Shrikant spoke to co-founder of Infosys, Nandan Nilekeni, on several aspects related to the lockdown. The UIDAI architect revealed that it was time to open up the economy once again, as India needs to get onto the right track, the growth track, at the earliest. Listen in to what he had to say.
What has happened, and I think now seems to be a systematic plan of opening up. I think clearly we have to do both lives and livelihoods, and I think there has to be some measures taken at the individual level, like hand washing, masks, and social distancing, as well as at the group level by not having big events. But within that, I think we need to look at how to start things all over again. And I think we are on the right track to do that.
Do you think more needs to be done to put cash in the hands of people to stimulate demand, get the consumption engine going again?
Well, cash in the hands of people is always welcome. And we'll talk about DBT perhaps later in this call. But I think, India doesn't have the benefit of a US which can run up huge deficits. In India, if we run up huge deficits, then it leads to challenges on the credit rating, higher cost of global borrowing and all that. So we work within the constraints that we have. So I think that's what the government has done. And whatever we are doing now in terms of cash transfer needs to be well targeted and reach the right people.
One initiative that the government seems to be doubling on is the one nation, one ration card scheme. This is something that you have been tweeting about as well, because the idea originally came from a task force that you headed way back in 2011. Now, I read that the idea did not find approval then. It was rejected by the NEC led by Sonia Gandhi. Can you take us through what happened then? Why didn't we have this way back in 2011?
Well, the 2011 report which I shared actually met these 5 principles of nationwide portability, universality, and so on, which meant that somebody could migrate from the village to the city and could withdraw his ration there, or even if he left his family behind, the family could withdraw part of it in their hometown, and he could withdraw another part of it in the city. So all this was built in the design of this. But in some sense, I think the idea was ahead of its time. And I think at that time, the need for this mobility, nationwide portability choice was not fully understood. And now it's become apparent that that's something we need. So it's more like sometimes, when you plant ideas of reform, they take many, many years to fructify. But that's the nature of the beast.
What do you make of this, sir? Is it really going to be pragmatic to have 75% of your staff working from home in the medium to long term? Or is this just something that companies are doing now for business continuity?
Everybody should come to office at least some of the time. So it will be some kind of a rotation. Because ultimately office is also about social capital. It's about engaging with other people, getting creative ideas, serendipity, building relationships, gossiping, whatever. The point is that we need all that too. And therefore, I think the steady state will be some balance. If you ask my opinion, it's more likely to be 2/3 in the office, 1/3 at home, where everybody comes to office, at least 3 days a week.
There are, over 30 countries around the world that have built contact tracing apps for smartphones. India has a centralized app called Bharatiya Setu. Where do you see this going? I mean, is there going to be a trade-off between safety and privacy of individuals, or is it something temporary? We will sort of go back to normal after this is over?
Well, I think, this has really done something which is unimaginable, which is that I now need to know the health of the people I'm meeting. Now, that was never something that you thought about. We thought of health as a privacy thing. And now you're saying that unless I know whether the person has antibodies or is not suffering or is taken vaccination, then it's a risk to meet it. So this really puts a whole new angle on the whole privacy question and surveillance question. So yes, obviously for a proper containment of this disease, we will have to have more understanding of who's where and what are they doing and whether they're following quarantine and whether they have got antibodies or whatever. But it does run the risk of increasing the state power, and therefore we need to guard against that and treat many of these things as only a temporary step which need to be rolled back once things get back to normal.